I think that's the whole thing surrounding death, is there's this mixture of responsibility and having to show up and do right, while also just intrinsically grieving and wanting to tear your hair out and keen and just like fall over sideways and cry. And you have to like live in that, and then worse still, you have to live through that. Like you have to come out the other side, and at some point everybody around you wants you to be you again. Guess what? You don't get to be. I'm not me. I'm not the me that existed prior. I'm completely different.
My name is June Vining, and I am the CEO Executive Director of the Trauma Intervention Program. TIP is a nonprofit organization of specially trained citizen volunteers that respond to citizens in crisis. So we are called out to go on scene and provide immediate emotional and practical support to people when something bad has happened. Most of the time that means that somebody's died. Our whole point is people shouldn't be left alone. So it's a lot of providing support and emotion. A lot of people ask me how I got involved in this. And, I'm married to a homicide detective. And by the time baby number 3 was born, I had already been home after baby number 2 for several years. And I saw an article in the newspaper about this volunteer opportunity, this great program that was coming to town. And I ended up going into the training, and it just worked for me. And I know how long I've been here because that little baby I carried in my arms is now 30 years old, and 2 babies of her own and another one on the way. So I took the training, and it filled that need of giving back to the community and being involved. And about 10 years into the program, my family suffered their own crisis and trauma when our 17, almost 18-year-old son died by suicide. Going through all of the disbelief and the grief, the extreme grief and unknowns after Nick's death, I remember just thinking, can I do this anymore? Should I do this? And in reflecting of that, I remembered so many conversations with Nick about how proud he was of me and what I did. And in that common question, what I was reminded of, when kids are asked, what do your parents do? It's pretty easy to say, my dad's a cop. But when they asked him what his mom did, his words were, my mom is a professional best friend, and she teaches other people how to be a good friend. And at that point, I knew that I was doing what I was supposed to do.
My name is Jordan Birkeland, and I recently lost my father. I lost my father, Marvin Birkeland, on March 17th, 2022. I had gone to school, and I got a call that my dad was found unresponsive in the bathroom. My little brother called 911. The paramedics were performing CPR on him, and so I hurried home, and about halfway home, I got a text from my other brother saying that he had died. They said he died of natural causes, likely a heart attack. Luckily, Multnomah County has a volunteer service called TIP, Trauma Intervention Program, and 2 women came and sat with us and helped guided us through. My dad was an interesting guy. He was just a goofy guy. He loved making jokes, and he loved, back in the day, before his COPD and before his retirement, he did love being outside. And that was one thing we bonded over. We bonded over a love for animals. He would take me hiking, and we'd look for snakes and like bunnies, and we would catch snakes together. We used to catch like baby garter snakes and little newts and frogs. And those are my favorite memories.
Phyllis died in January 8th, if I remember correctly, and then Hal died right after her birthday in June. She lingered in a at-home hospice coma for, I think, about 6 days. which is an eternity when you don't know what you're doing. So when she did pass away around 6 in the morning, the three of us, her husband, my husband at the time, and me, all just kind of sat there like, what do I do with my hands? And then the funeral home, of all people, were the people that kind of gave us a path forward. They came and picked her up. And we had to go there and kind of plan what to do from there. And they told us how many death certificates they think we needed. At that point, it was kind of on us to decide to do an obituary, which we did. And my husband at the time, great writer, agonized over it, wrote a great obit. But we didn't know what it would cost. It was insane. Like, to do anything other than a picture was hundreds of dollars. You like to think that, like, you know, you're honoring your beloved human by keeping their story alive, but there's something tactile about, like, an actual obituary that's just not a picture and a couple words, and it was wildly expensive, considering.
I think another big situation or question or issue that comes up when we talk about death or when a death has happened, especially if it's not prearranged, final arrangements, is the cost of final expenses. People are surprised at how much it costs to all the things that you have to do when somebody dies.
It was surprising how many things needed a death certificate, and you have to pay for each death certificate. And certain avenues, like the bank, needs short form, and then other organizations need the long form, so you need to know how many you need to buy, and it's just all feels like so tedious. Just all the things that go into it. $150 to get death certificates, to get things like moved around. The $175 cardboard. That just throws me for a loop. That's nuts.
Honoring your dead is expensive. Like, I just keep coming back to this. Your obituary, the pleasure of letting other people know and putting ink on paper for somebody that's precious to you and writing something meaningful is excessively expensive. I think that for Phyllis, it cost about $900, and that was to be in our local newspaper. And then for Hal, we put into a couple because he was in the military and moved all over and had a bunch of buds. So I think that ended up costing a couple $1,000. And then at the funeral home, when they're telling us you need 5 copies of a death certificate, I'm like, this doesn't even, well, why? It's like it's like $100 a piece. Okay, well, we'll do it. But we didn't really understand what to do next.
Just the cost of the cremation itself was over $2,000, including a cardboard casket, which blew my mind. Of course, that included the cost of transporting the body, which that alone was also surprising, that we have to pay to get the body removed from the house. Honestly, the biggest surprise was the funeral home was who picked up the body. I did not know that. I thought when I watched the paramedics drive away in their ambulance that I would never see my dad again. I didn't know he was still here, and I did not know it was the job of the funeral home to transport the body. They had brought him into the hallway and had left him in the hallway. It was surreal. Luckily, my younger brother had come over before me, and he managed to find a sheet and put the sheet over him because he was left as is. Yeah, it was really heartbreaking. I wish there would be a little more time for empathy and compassion even. My dad was nude when he died, and they just left him. They left a washcloth on him for courtesy's sake, but they left the respirator as well for the CPR mask. And that little bit of compassion of just covering him so he wouldn't be just left on the floor. Would have been nice. Rather than leaving wrappers everywhere, and they hit his head when they pulled him out of the bathroom and just left the blood on the floor. It would have been nice to have a little bit more empathy with the family rather than just leaving him and driving away.
When you let them know that a veteran or a spouse died, they kind of give you a path forward in a sense. But as far as like finding all of her random life insurance policies, what to do with their bank accounts, it took forever to even just figure out what we needed to figure out. Like there was no way to like make a plan, because we had to make a plan to figure out how to make a plan.
So, oh my God, it's just like after you get the death certificates, that you spend like a week and a half just filling out forms, and it's so frustrating. You know what I mean? But you do it, and then you start reaping a little bit of the benefits, because we did get the free flag, we did get the veterans death benefit, because Social Security only pays $255.
It's, you know, it's very difficult, and it's very time consuming to get all the information that you need. So just stay with it, you know, and contact either the Veterans Administration or whatever administration you need to work with Social Security, and make sure that you're not missing out on any of the benefits that you're entitled to, because it is a difficult time that you're going through, and you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of everything that's available to assist you.
I guess my thing is, anything that is available, take advantage of it. It's there because you paid for it. If you didn't pay for it, it's there because it's goddamn necessary. If you have a resource, take advantage of it. If you're not, you're selling yourself short, and we don't live in a country where you can get that on the economy. So take advantage of it. It's free. And more than free, it's impactful. And more than impactful, it is a better legacy for your parents.
I'm going home to live with God. All my troubles will be over, and I made a brand new start. It might be early in the morning when I get home. When my work on earth is done, I'm going home to live with God. All my troubles will be over, and I'll make a brand new start. In the morning when I rise, shake the dust off my feet and wipe my weeping eyes. It might be early in the morning when I get home. By and by, that day surely comes.
Because he knew he was dying before he was dying, we actually went back down and picked his out. Because I made a joke about it being plywood. He's like, you can't do plywood.
Do you mind if I ask what you picked up?
Like 3 Up from plywood.
I think the new title of this documentary is going to be 3 Up from Plywood.
Early in the morning when I get